When people finally escape a narcissistic relationship, one question keeps haunting them. Who did the narcissist choose after me? Many imagine the narcissist finally found their perfect soulmate, someone more beautiful, more successful, or somehow better. But what if that's not how it works at all? The truth is, narcissists don't usually search for the best partner. They search for the partner who best serves their emotional needs. Today's discussion explores the psychology behind who narcissists actually end up with, why their choices often surprise everyone, and what this reveals about narcissistic relationships. Understanding this can free you from unhealthy comparisons and help you focus on your own healing. One of the biggest misunderstandings about narcissistic relationships is the belief that narcissists are always searching for the best possible partner. When a relationship ends, many people naturally begin comparing themselves to the next person the narcissist dates. They wonder if the new partner is more attractive, more successful, more intelligent, or somehow more worthy of love. This comparison can become emotionally exhausting because it creates the false impression that the narcissist has upgraded to someone better. In reality, that's usually not how narcissistic relationship dynamics work. A narcissist's choices are often driven less by genuine compatibility and more by what the other person can provide for them emotionally, socially, or practically. Instead of asking, who is the best partner for me? They may unconsciously ask, who is most likely to meet my needs without requiring me to change? That distinction changes everything. For many narcissists, relationships are not built on mutual emotional intimacy, trust, or shared growth. Instead, relationships become sources of validation, admiration, attention, and control. They often seek people who can consistently reinforce their self image and help them avoid feelings of insecurity or inadequacy. Because their sense of self may depend heavily on external validation, they are constantly looking for someone who will reflect back the admiration they crave. The partner becomes less of an equal companion and more of a source of emotional supply. This is why the person they choose next may seem completely unexpected to outsiders. It isn't always the most accomplished, confident, or emotionally healthy individual. It is often the person who appears most willing or most likely to fulfill the narcissist's emotional needs. Sometimes that person is incredibly kind and compassionate. Empathetic individuals naturally want to understand others, offer support, and see the best in people. These qualities are beautiful in healthy relationships, but they can become vulnerabilities in unhealthy ones. A narcissist may recognize someone who is patient, forgiving, and deeply caring, not because they appreciate those qualities in a healthy way, but because they believe those traits make the person easier to influence. An empathetic partner may spend countless hours trying to understand the narcissist's behavior, hoping that more love, more patience, or more understanding will eventually improve the relationship. Unfortunately, that endless willingness to give can sometimes create an imbalance where one person continually sacrifices while the other continually takes. Other times, narcissists are drawn to individuals who are going through difficult periods in life. Someone recovering from heartbreak, struggling with self-esteem, dealing with loneliness, or facing major life changes may be especially receptive to intense attention and affection. In the beginning, the narcissist often provides exactly what the person has been longing for. They may appear incredibly attentive, affectionate, supportive, and emotionally invested. This overwhelming attention can feel like a dream come true. The new partner believes they have finally found someone who truly sees and understands them. But over time, once emotional attachment has formed, the dynamic often begins to shift. The warmth that once felt unconditional may slowly become conditional, depending on how well the partner meets the narcissist's expectations. In some cases, a narcissist may also choose someone who brings practical advantages. This could include financial stability, social status, professional connections, or public admiration. The relationship becomes another way to strengthen the narcissist's identity or reputation. Rather than viewing their partner as an independent individual with their own dreams and needs, they may see them as an extension of themselves, a reflection of the image they want the world to see. If being with a particular person enhances their social standing or makes them appear more successful, that relationship can serve an important psychological function for them. What often surprises people is that narcissists do not necessarily prefer confident, emotionally secure individuals who maintain strong boundaries. In fact, healthy boundaries can make manipulation much more difficult. A person who calmly says no, expresses their needs clearly, and expects mutual respect is less likely to tolerate controlling behavior or emotional games. While narcissists may initially admire confidence because it reflects positively on them, sustained confidence combined with healthy boundaries can become frustrating for someone who wants excessive control. As a result, they may gravitate toward individuals who are less likely to challenge unhealthy dynamics or who feel responsible for keeping the relationship together at any cost. This does not mean the people narcissists choose are weak or unintelligent. Far from it. Many survivors of narcissistic relationships are highly intelligent, successful, compassionate, and emotionally resilient in other areas of life. What often draws them into the relationship is not weakness, but hope. They believe conflicts can be resolved through communication, that people deserve second chances, and that love can help someone heal. These beliefs are admirable in healthy relationships, but they can become painful when they are repeatedly used to justify unacceptable behavior. The narcissist may interpret this hope and persistence not as strength, but as evidence that the partner will continue investing in the relationship despite ongoing mistreatment. Another important point to understand is that usefulness changes over time. A narcissist's needs may shift depending on their circumstances. At one stage of life, they may prioritize someone who offers financial security. Later, they may seek someone who provides admiration and excitement. At another point, they may value someone who is emotionally available around the clock. Because their choices are often centered on meeting immediate psychological needs, the qualities they seek in a partner can appear inconsistent. This inconsistency confuses many former partners who wonder why the narcissist suddenly seems interested in someone completely different from them. The answer usually has less to do with personal worth and more to do with what the narcissist believes that person can provide in that particular moment. This understanding can be incredibly freeing because it shifts the focus away from unhealthy comparison. If the narcissist's choices are based primarily on usefulness rather than genuine emotional connection, then comparing yourself to the next partner becomes meaningless. The new person has not won, nor have they necessarily found a healthier relationship. They have simply stepped into a role that may eventually expose them to the same unhealthy patterns. The cycle often repeats because the underlying dynamics have not changed. Different faces may appear, but the emotional script frequently remains the same. For anyone recovering from a narcissistic relationship, one of the greatest acts of healing is recognizing that your value was never determined by whether the narcissist chose you, stayed with you, or replaced you. Your worth does not increase because someone idealized you, and it does not decrease because someone discarded you. Healthy love is never about proving your usefulness to another person. It is about mutual respect, emotional safety, trust, honesty, and the freedom for both people to be fully themselves without fear of manipulation or control. The moment you stop measuring your worth by the choices of someone who viewed relationships through the lens of personal gain is the moment you begin reclaiming your own life, your confidence, and your peace. One of the most confusing experiences after leaving a narcissistic relationship is watching the narcissist quickly move on to someone new. It can leave you wondering, how could another person not see what I saw? Or, why would anyone choose to be with someone who caused so much pain? These questions are completely understandable, but they are often based on one important assumption: that the new partner is seeing the same version of the narcissist that you eventually came to know. In most cases, they are not. They are meeting someone who is carefully presenting a polished, charming, and highly appealing version of themselves. They have not yet experienced the manipulation, criticism, control, or emotional unpredictability that often emerges later. This is why narcissists frequently choose people who simply do not recognize the red flags in the beginning, not because those people lack intelligence, but because the warning signs are intentionally hidden beneath a carefully crafted first impression. The early stages of a narcissistic relationship can feel incredibly exciting and intense. The narcissist often appears deeply interested, attentive, affectionate, and emotionally invested. They may shower the other person with compliments, constant communication, thoughtful gestures, and promises about the future. This overwhelming attention creates a powerful emotional connection very quickly. Many people describe feeling as though they have finally met someone who truly understands them. The relationship seems effortless, passionate, and almost too good to be true. Unfortunately, that feeling is often exactly what makes the early warning signs so difficult to notice. Human beings naturally want to believe positive experiences. When someone is kind, charming, and affectionate, we usually don't search for hidden motives. We assume sincerity because most emotionally healthy people express affection honestly. Narcissists can take advantage of this natural trust by creating an ideal image of themselves. They carefully observe what the other person values and then reflect those qualities back. If someone values kindness, they appear exceptionally kind. If someone values ambition, they highlight their accomplishments. If someone longs for emotional connection, they seem deeply vulnerable and understanding. This ability to adapt their presentation can make them appear almost perfectly compatible with the person they are pursuing. During this phase, small warning signs are often overshadowed by strong positive emotions. Perhaps the narcissist speaks negatively about every former partner, but the new partner assumes they simply had bad luck in relationships. Maybe they become jealous very quickly, but it is mistaken for deep love and protectiveness. Perhaps they constantly seek compliments or dominate conversations, but it is interpreted as confidence rather than insecurity. Occasionally, they may ignore boundaries or become irritated when things don't go their way. Yet these moments seem isolated compared to all the affection they are showing. Because the positive experiences feel so powerful, the mind naturally minimizes the significance of these early concerns. Another reason people miss the red flags is that narcissists rarely reveal their full behavior all at once. Manipulation often develops gradually. If controlling behavior appeared on the very first date, most people would walk away immediately. Instead, unhealthy behaviors are introduced slowly enough that each new step feels only slightly different from the last. The relationship changes little by little rather than overnight. One day, the constant texting feels romantic. Later, it becomes an expectation. Eventually, not responding immediately leads to criticism or accusations. What began as affection slowly transforms into control. But because the changes happen gradually, they can be difficult to recognize while living through them. Many narcissists are also highly skilled at creating emotional confusion. When hurtful behavior occurs, it is often followed by intense affection, apologies, gifts, or promises to change. This inconsistency keeps the other person emotionally invested because they continue hoping that the loving version of the narcissist will return permanently. Psychologists sometimes describe this as intermittent reinforcement, where unpredictable rewards create a powerful emotional attachment. The occasional moments of warmth become so meaningful that they overshadow the growing pattern of emotional harm. Instead of focusing on the overall relationship, the partner begins chasing those brief moments when everything feels wonderful again. People who naturally see the good in others can be especially vulnerable during this stage. Compassionate individuals often believe everyone deserves understanding, patience, and another opportunity to improve. When the narcissist explains hurtful behavior by blaming stress, childhood trauma, work pressure, or misunderstandings, an empathetic partner may genuinely want to help. They believe love, communication, and support can solve the problem. Rather than recognizing repeated harmful behavior as a serious warning sign, they interpret it as evidence that the narcissist needs even more understanding. Unfortunately, this good-hearted response can keep someone trapped in an unhealthy dynamic much longer than they expected. It's also important to understand that narcissists often seek people who are experiencing significant life transitions. Someone recovering from a breakup, grieving a loss, moving to a new city, or struggling with self-confidence may be especially receptive to the intense attention the narcissist provides. This does not mean those individuals are weak. It simply means that during vulnerable moments, everyone appreciates feeling seen, valued, and understood. Narcissists can identify these emotional openings and present themselves as exactly the person the other individual has been hoping to find. By the time inconsistencies begin to appear, emotional attachment has already formed, making it much harder to walk away. Another common misconception is believing that only inexperienced or naive people miss narcissistic red flags. In reality, survivors come from every background imaginable. They include psychologists, teachers, doctors, business leaders, therapists, lawyers, and people with decades of relationship experience. Intelligence does not eliminate the possibility of emotional manipulation because narcissistic behavior often targets emotional needs rather than intellectual reasoning. Even highly knowledgeable individuals can be caught off guard when someone deliberately creates trust before revealing their unhealthy patterns. Over time, the relationship often begins to change in subtle but significant ways. The compliments become less frequent. Criticism becomes more common. Small disagreements suddenly turn into major conflicts. The partner may begin feeling responsible for keeping the narcissist happy, avoiding certain topics, or constantly trying to prevent arguments. The emotional safety that existed at the beginning slowly disappears, replaced by anxiety and self-doubt. Many survivors later realize that the red flags were present from the beginning, but they were hidden beneath overwhelming affection, hope, and the natural desire to believe the best about someone they loved. This is why it is so important not to judge the narcissist's new partner or compare yourself to them. They are not necessarily seeing the same reality you eventually experienced. They are likely encountering the carefully constructed version that you once believed as well. Given enough time, many of the same unhealthy patterns often emerge because the underlying behaviors have not changed. The cycle repeats not because the new partner is different, but because the narcissist is repeating familiar relationship dynamics. Recognizing red flags is not about becoming suspicious of everyone you meet. It is about learning to value consistency over charm, actions over promises, respect over intensity, and emotional safety over emotional excitement. Healthy relationships grow steadily through trust, honesty, mutual respect, and accountability, not through overwhelming intensity that later gives way to confusion and control. The greatest protection is not learning how to spot every manipulator perfectly. It is learning to trust yourself enough to walk away the moment someone's actions consistently fail to match their words. One of the defining characteristics of a healthy relationship is emotional balance. Both people feel heard, respected, supported, and valued. They each take responsibility for their actions, apologize when they make mistakes, and work together to solve problems. There is a natural give and take. Some days, one partner may need more support, and other days, the roles may reverse. Over time, this balance creates trust, emotional safety, and a sense that both people matter equally. In a narcissistic relationship, however, this balance is often missing. Instead of two people contributing equally to the relationship, one person gradually becomes responsible for carrying most of the emotional weight. This is why narcissists often remain with people who accept emotional imbalance, not because those individuals are weak, but because they continue giving long after the relationship has stopped being mutually supportive. At the beginning of the relationship, the imbalance may not be obvious. Everything may seem exciting, affectionate, and deeply connected. The narcissist may appear incredibly attentive and interested in your thoughts, feelings, and dreams. They may make you feel like the most important person in the world. During this stage, it seems as though both people are investing equally in the relationship. But as time passes, the dynamic slowly begins to shift. The narcissist starts expecting more emotional energy while offering less in return. Their needs become the center of the relationship, while your needs slowly move into the background. You may find yourself becoming the one who always comforts them after a difficult day, reassures them when they feel criticized, celebrates every success they have, and patiently listens to every frustration. Yet when you need the same level of support, the response may be noticeably different. Your concerns may be dismissed, minimized, interrupted, or redirected back to the narcissist's experiences. Conversations that begin with your feelings somehow end with you comforting them instead. Without realizing it, you become the emotional caretaker of the relationship. This imbalance often develops so gradually that it feels normal. You may begin making small sacrifices without thinking much about them. You stay quiet to avoid an argument. You apologize first, even when you were the one who was hurt. You cancel your own plans to accommodate theirs. You overlook disrespect because you remember how loving they were in the beginning. Each compromise seems small on its own, but over months or years, those sacrifices add up. Eventually, you may realize that the relationship revolves almost entirely around keeping one person emotionally comfortable, while the other person quietly absorbs disappointment, frustration, and exhaustion. Many people who stay in these relationships are naturally compassionate and deeply empathetic. They genuinely care about other people's feelings and want to help those they love succeed. These qualities are strengths in healthy relationships because they create kindness, patience, and understanding. Unfortunately, a narcissist may interpret these qualities very differently. Instead of appreciating your compassion, they may begin expecting it. Instead of being grateful for your forgiveness, they may assume they will always receive another chance. Over time, your kindness becomes something they rely on without feeling responsible for giving the same level of care back to you. One of the reasons emotional imbalance becomes so powerful is because the narcissist often creates the belief that maintaining the relationship is primarily your responsibility. If they become angry, you feel responsible for calming them down. If they withdraw emotionally, you believe you must fix the problem. If they criticize you, you start wondering how you can improve instead of questioning whether the criticism is fair. Slowly, your focus shifts away from your own emotional well-being and toward constantly managing theirs. This emotional labor becomes so routine that you may not even recognize how much energy you are spending until you are completely exhausted. Narcissists often expect unconditional understanding while offering very little accountability. They may want you to excuse hurtful behavior because they were stressed, tired, misunderstood, or dealing with personal challenges. While everyone experiences difficult moments, healthy people still recognize when they have caused harm and take responsibility for repairing the relationship. A narcissist, however, may consistently avoid accountability by blaming circumstances, other people, or even you for their behavior. As a result, you become trapped in a cycle where you are constantly expected to understand them, while your own emotional experiences receive very little understanding in return. Another common feature of emotional imbalance is the unequal distribution of effort. You may be the one planning conversations to resolve conflicts, researching ways to improve communication, suggesting counseling, reading books about relationships, or trying new strategies to make things better. Meanwhile, the narcissist may insist that the problems exist because of your sensitivity, your expectations, or your inability to appreciate them. Instead of both people working toward healthier communication, one person carries nearly all the responsibility for fixing the relationship. Over time, this creates deep emotional fatigue because no matter how much effort you invest, lasting change never seems to happen. Many survivors describe feeling like they were constantly walking on eggshells. They carefully monitored their words, facial expressions, tone of voice, and even daily routines to avoid triggering conflict. They became experts at predicting the narcissist's moods and adjusting their own behavior accordingly. While this may temporarily reduce arguments, it comes at a significant emotional cost. You begin losing touch with your own needs, preferences, and authentic personality because so much of your attention is focused on maintaining the narcissist's emotional stability. One of the most painful aspects of this imbalance is that it often makes people question their own worth. After repeatedly giving love, patience, forgiveness, and understanding without receiving the same in return, you may begin believing that you simply need to try harder. You may convince yourself that if you become more supportive, more patient, less emotional, or more understanding, the relationship will finally improve. But healthy relationships are not built on one person's endless self-sacrifice. They require mutual effort, mutual respect, and mutual accountability. No amount of giving can compensate for another person's unwillingness to participate equally in the relationship.